I think I have a contender for my new favorite low-cost airline. I had 2 flights with Transavia France to be specific, on this trip. One from Istanbul to Paris, and now a couple weeks later from Paris to Berlin. And I really can't get over how just well put together they are. Not to mention how friendly the crew on both flights were. Today is a single trip report, from Paris to Berlin on a 737, but I also have cabin footage of my first flight on an A321neo so we can compare the two. By the way, if you're ever curious about the price that I paid for this flight, or the equipment that I use on a daily basis while traveling and creating, all of that can be found in the description below. Let me welcome any of you that might be new to the channel. My name is Kevin. I'm here to give you a self-funded and honest look at some of the best, most unique, or simply most popular airlines and hotels in the world, which I've been bringing to you full-time for 5 years now. I'd love for you to know more about how I do things on the channel, so simply scan the QR code or check out one of my hundreds of videos to do so. Let's get into the trip report. I just arrived here at Paris Orly from Sao Paulo via Lisbon on tap Portugal. When I booked that flight well in advance, I figured that Paris would be a good central spot to be, but turns out the best deal I could get on my LOT Polish flight to Mumbai was from Berlin. Hence, this flight. While Orly is not the most intuitive of airports out there, transiting from my TAP to Transavia flights was actually really simple. Everything was well signed, though it is a bit of a walk. I've known of Transavia probably since around the time that I started the channel, but before that, I'd honestly never heard of it, and was surprised to learn that the Dutch brand of Transavia has been around since 1966. 2 days after getting their operating license from the Dutch government, they had their first commercial flight to Naples, Italy, carrying the Dutch Ballet Orchestra and Dutch Dance Theater of all things, and the 15 years that followed saw them gain a 45% market share for the Dutch holiday markets. In 1991, KLM bought an 80% stake in the airline, bringing that up to 100% in 2003. The year after that is when Air France and KLM merged, making Transavia a 100% owned subsidiary of KLM, which is owned by Air France-KLM. We're still not actually talking about the airline that I flew on today though. Transavia France, which is a joint venture between Air France and Dutch Transavia, began flying in 2007. Now, the two Transavias exist in tandem with each other, identical in nearly every way except for the language on board and the home base. Though they are still technically different airlines. Orly Terminal 3 doesn't have any lounges here that I know of, so I found one of the many lounge-like seating areas and camped out there for a couple of hours, waiting for my 737 to land. Transavia France has 82 aircraft and Transavia has 49, and both of them have pretty impressive and far-reaching networks for smaller, low-cost carriers. Put together, their fleet is around a fifth of the size of Ryanair's, for example. Boarding was a bit early and very orderly, with a clear distinction between boarding groups. Boarding Group 1 could have a full-size carry-on, which they do have weight restrictions on, but they didn't weigh it at the gate, and the other groups could not. And welcome on board Greensville. This isn't the color that I would have chosen, but it certainly wakes you up, and I mean, it is just a happy shade of green. No one's going to be yelling at cabin crew sitting in seats made of green cotton candy. I had an exit row seat, which is great for the legroom, but had the typical 737 window seat exit row seat bottom, which is generally smaller than the other seats. Not a problem on this short flight though. I appreciate the double storage pocket and the USB Type A and Type C outlets. And here we have that exact same row on an A321neo. Additional comforts of an Airbus narrowbody aside, these brand new seats are mostly just as practical. The storage isn't as great, but the USB-C is in a better position and there's a cup holder, so both are good seats. Before we push back, just a quick word about service. Flabbergasted, dumbfounded, bewildered, these are some of the high contenders for what the thesaurus is telling me I felt about the service. How could it be then that both of these flights on low-cost airlines that are supposed to suck by all accounts had some of the friendliest and most thorough crew that I've ever encountered? How? What are they putting in the water in France? Small detail, but it was also the most intuitive way that I've ever heard the exit row safety briefing being detailed. On both flights, the crew specified leg, head, leg as the order to step out of the window. A clever detail that makes a lot of sense to mention, but I've never heard before. In the air, they offer a pretty wide variety of food, snacks, and drinks for fair prices. On my Istanbul flight, I chose the tapas box. If you're enjoying the video and would like to support the channel, there are many ways that you could do so. A quick like on the video and subscribe helps videos with the algorithm. You could join my YouTube channel memberships to get early access to some videos and access to all of my community posts. Or you could check out my Patreon, where I post the most, and can help you out with any travel-related questions. Whatever you do, thanks for doing it. As someone who has lived out of the US for over a decade and can't stand the number of pre-packaged and processed foods I find when flying within the US, I love how this box was just put together with simple but unadulterated ingredients. Okay, I'm starting to sound like a Transavia ad. Exceptional service, good ground experience. Oh, I forgot to mention I had to change my flight and needed to call their call center. It was a 7-minute call. I remember thanking the agent for being the most efficient airline phone experience that I've ever had. The food selection on board is good, I earned Air France XPs and points, and even the green is starting to grow on me. So, I'm very sorry for those of you that don't feel the same, but I think that things, whether an airline or a hotel or a restaurant or you name it, should be judged for what they're actually trying to be. There can be a 5-star sandwich shop. There can also be a near perfect $100 hotel. And today, there can be a low-cost carrier coming in at a 9. Quick side note, as of January 2026, I'm going back to a truly chronological posting order of my flights and hotels combined. That means sometimes there won't be a single hotel video for a month. February, for example. Or sometimes the majority of videos in a month, April for example, will be resorts. This will just help me streamline my own mental timeline as I juggle a new project that I'm working on for 2027. So I really do hope that you enjoyed this quick trip report today. If you did, please be sure to click the like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss my twice weekly videos. I'll see you next time on Lot Polish Airlines. As always, thanks for watching until the end.